It was Halloween, and my friends and I were out trick-or-treating in our neighborhood. I lived in a pretty safe area, so we weren't really worried about much, just running from house to house, trying to score as much candy as possible. But then, about halfway through the night, I noticed something strange. There was this old, beat-up car creeping behind us. At first, I did not think much of it. Lots of people drive slowly on Halloween with kids running around. But this guy, he was following us. Not just slowly cruising by, but stopping every time we stopped. We'd hit a house, and he'd pull up a few houses back. When we run to the next house, he'd move up too, always just keeping enough distance to not seem obvious. But it was obvious to me. I told my friends, but they shrugged it off at first. Maybe he was a parent keeping an eye on his kids. That made sense, but the thing is, we never saw any kids come out of his car. Just him, alone, watching. After a couple more houses, my friend started to notice it too. The weird tension built up between us, and we were glancing over our shoulders constantly. Every time we moved, he followed. So we started running. Not in a full sprint, but quick enough to hit more houses and hopefully lose the guy. But every time, he'd be there, just a house or two behind, creeping forward like he knew exactly where we're going to be. We did not know what to do. It's not like you expect to be stalked while you're just trying to get candy. I decided enough was enough, and spotted a police officer nearby. It was one of those small-town cops who patrolled during Halloween to keep an eye on things. I ran up to him, out of breath, and explained everything as fast as I could. The officer listened carefully, his expression calm but focused. Then he told me something that I'll never forget. Walk to the next house and act normal. Let me handle it. So I did. I tried to keep my cool, but I could feel the guy's eyes on us as my friends and I walked to the next house, pretending like nothing was wrong. Meanwhile, the cop circled back around and casually approached the guy's car. I couldn't hear their conversation, but I saw the cop asking the guy questions, shining a flashlight into his car. Then things escalated. The cop motioned for backup, and the next thing I knew, 2 other officers arrived and started searching the car. Turns out, the guy wasn't after us at all. He was using us as bait. While we knocked on doors for candy, he'd watch which houses did not answer, and then sneak up and break into them while everyone else was distracted. We were just an unknowing part of his plan, hitting house after house, unknowingly marking his targets. Because I reported him, they caught him red-handed, with stolen stuff all in his car. If I hadn't noticed, this guy probably would have gotten away with robbing half the neighborhood. The whole thing still creeps me out to this day. Years ago, I had a friend named Tom. We weren't super close, but we hung out enough that I noticed he was a bit different when it came to Halloween. While most of us were planning parties or taking the kids out for trick-or-treating, Tom would shut himself off from it entirely. He'd stay home, turn off all the lights, park his car down the street so it looked like no one was home. The first time I really picked up on this, I remember it was a Halloween weekend. We were sitting in his living room, having a beer, and I casually asked, "Hey, what are you and Emily doing for Halloween?" He did not even hesitate before answering, "I don't celebrate it." At that time, I did not think much of it. Not everyone gets into the spooky season. But over the next few years, I saw a pattern. Every Halloween, Tom would go dark. No decorations, no candy, nothing. It was like the holiday did not exist for him. A couple of years later, we were hanging out again, and his wife Emily was there. She's always been more open than Tom, so I took a chance and asked her about it. I think I phrased it like, "Hey, I noticed Tom really doesn't do Halloween." Is that just his thing? Emily looked at me, then at Tom, who had gone totally silent by now. She gave me this look, like she wasn't sure how much to say, but then she sighed and went for it. His nephew got kidnapped one Halloween, she said, trick-or-treating. And I froze. I had not expected that at all. Tom was just staring at the floor while Emily continued. She explained that it happened when Tom was in his 20s. His sister had let her son go out with a group of friends, and at some point, he got separated from the group. And the police got involved. The whole neighborhood was out looking for him. It took a few days, but eventually, Tom and his sister were the ones who found him. I don't need to go into the details, but it wasn't good. The kind of thing that changes you forever. Emily told me that Tom just couldn't handle Halloween after that. It wasn't just the trick-or-treating or the decorations. It was the feeling of it. The darkness, the masks, the way people could just blend in and disappear. He never talked about it, never wanted to be reminded of it. So every year they just pretended like the day did not exist. I sat there, feeling like the biggest idiot in the world for even asking. How do you apologize for bringing up something like that? I did not know what to say, so I just muttered some awkward apology and let it go. Since then, I've always been careful around Tom when Halloween comes around. I still don't know if he'll ever talk about it directly. I can't imagine what it's like to find someone you love like that. I don't think anyone can unless they've been through it. Now, every time Halloween rolls around, I think of Tom and his nephew. I don't ask anymore. In high school, a couple of friends and I were out trick-or-treating one Halloween night. We were way too old for it, but it was more about hanging out than actually getting candy. After hitting up a few houses, we realized we had to start heading home. To save time, we decided to cut through the local park instead of walking around it. The park was mostly empty, but there was a small group of older kids hanging out at the playground. I did not think much of it at first, but something about the way they were looking at us gave me a bad feeling. As we got closer, they got up and started walking toward us. My stomach sank. These kids weren't just looking for candy, they were looking for trouble. Before we knew it, they were in front of us, blocking our path. One of them, the biggest of the group, sneered at us. "What do you got in those bags, huh?" We tried to play it cool, mumbling something about heading home, but they weren't having it. One of them grabbed my friend's bag, and it was clear they wanted to take more than just candy. That's when we decided to make a run for it. We sprinted across the park's field, hoping to get away before things escalated. As soon as we bolted, they started yelling every curse word and racial slur you could imagine, their voices cutting through the cold night air. I glanced back just as my friend Dave tripped. It was like slow motion, the way he hit the ground, and before I could even shout, they were on him. These kids did not hesitate. They dragged him across the grass like he was a rag doll. The rest of us froze for a second, unsure of what to do, but the instinct kicked in. We turned around and ran back toward Dave, hoping to help him before things got worse. That's when one of them, this wiry-looking guy with a shaved head, picked up a loose 2x4 lying near the edge of the playground. I didn't even see it coming. He swung it and hit my other friend, Nate, square in the side of the head. The sound it made was sickening, like a crack. Blood started pouring down his face instantly. For a moment, everything stopped. The group of older kids realized what they had done. I guess they hadn't expected things to go that far, because they just stood there for a second, staring at the blood. Then, without saying a word, they took off running. We did not chase them. We just stood there, panting, staring at Nate as he held his head in his hands. The blood soaked through his costume and dripped onto the grass. None of us said a word. We eventually helped him up and practically carried him the rest of the way home. No one talked on the way back. When we got home, we were too scared and shaken up to even think about calling the cops. We just wanted to forget about it. Nate ended up having a nasty scar from that night, one he still has to this day. We're all still friends, but none of us ever really talked about that night again. It's just one of those things that sits in the back of your mind, even years later. It was Halloween night, mid-90s, back when we still had those cheap plastic masks with the elastic bands that would snap if you sneezed too hard, and when every house on the block handed out full-size candy bars like it was nothing. I was about 9 years old, and it was the highlight of my year. Me, my best friend Ethan, and a couple other kids were out trick-or-treating, with Ethan's mom taking us around. It was the perfect night. Clear skies, crisp air, leaves crunching under our feet. We had only made it about 2 blocks, bags barely starting to fill, when everything went south. We were walking down the sidewalk, heading toward a house that always went all out with decorations. A grandma and her daughter were a few steps ahead of us. The grandma must have lost her footing or misjudged the curb, but one second she was standing there, and the next, she was falling backwards. It wasn't a slow fall either. It was fast, and she hit the pavement with a sickening crack. Time slowed down for a moment. I heard her head hit the concrete, but what stuck with me the most was the gurgling sounds. She wasn't moving, but there was this awful noise coming from her throat. Her adult daughter started screaming, not just shouting, but this raw, primal scream that made my stomach turn. Ethan's mom reacted fast. She grabbed us by our arms and hurried us across the street, away from the scene. I looked back over my shoulder and could see the daughter trying to shake her mom awake. Ethan's mom told us to stay put while she ran back to help. I remember standing there, holding my pumpkin-shaped candy bucket, not knowing what to do. And it felt like hours before the ambulance arrived, though it was probably just a few minutes. We watched as the paramedics worked on the grandma, but deep down, I knew it wasn't going to end well. We tried to keep trick-or-treating after that, but we only made it 1 more block. None of us had the energy or spirit for it anymore. Ethan's mom decided to call it a night and took us back to his house. To try and cheer us up, she went out and got McDonald's. Mounds of fries, burgers, nuggets, the works. She laid out a blanket on the floor in front of the TV, trying to make it a fun, normal night again. We were all trying to pretend like nothing had happened, but then I noticed something. "You have ketchup on your shoe," I told her, pointing at the dark stain on the toe of her sneaker. She glanced down, and her face went pale. It wasn't ketchup. It was blood from the grandma. She must have stepped in it when she ran back to help. We all freaked out. I started crying. Ethan's younger sister was sobbing, and his mom just stood there, frozen. I couldn't even eat the McDonald's after that, but I kept chewing anyway, my stomach twisted in knots. The worst part? The lady did not make it. I found out from my mom a few weeks later. I did not go trick-or-treating for 2 years after that, and to this day, I can't walk down that street without feeling sick. Hey, what's up guys, it's Spooky. If you've made it this far, congratulations, you survived. If you did not know, I have an Instagram. Follow me on there so we can connect. I also have a Patreon. On there you'll have direct access to me and can see the upcoming videos, polls, and soon-to-be exclusive stories only shared on there. If that's something that interests you, please consider joining. That's all I have for you guys tonight. Stay spooky and I'll see you in the next video.